gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts in 3, 2, 1, go.
Good morning, CaneSport. It's June the 16th, 2022. I'm Gary Ferman, the publisher of CaneSport.com, joined as always by our managing editor, Matt Shodell, as we discuss the news of the day, presented as always by LifeWallet, where the time is now to take charge of your personal health. And, Matt, we've talked so much about recruiting through the days, through the weeks, how we expected the month of June to be huge for Mario Cristobal and his staff. And now here we are, middle of the month, June the 16th, and we're starting to see all the benefits of all the labor that they have done coming to fruition. And never was that more evident than yesterday out at the U, where they had a camp for some individuals to come out and work with the coaches. And so many recruiting developments came out of that exercise. And I thought that we would talk about some of those on the show today. Let me start with the one that I think is probably the biggest of all of them, and that is Miami Northwestern receiver Andy Jean working for 2 hours with offensive coordinator, receiver coach Josh Gaddis, and emerging from that session feeling so good about what had taken place that this young man that had once been committed to the Hurricanes and now is decommitted was flat telling us that Miami has a huge lead now, and he couldn't gush enough about his time with Josh Gaddis.
Miami is the team to beat. He's been saying things are even, but I don't know that I ever honestly believed him once the new staff came in anyway. But the truth be told, they can get every commitment they want right now. The season still has to go the right way. NIL deals still have to go the right way. I mean, there's so much that has to fall into place. Like, it's easy to pronounce Miami the champion of recruiting on June 15th because things look like they're trending right. But you know me, I'm a realist. Like, it can easily change. It could get better. It can get worse. Like, I'm that wait and see guy, especially in recruiting. You just don't know what's going to happen. I mean, at the same time, Bobby and Robbie Washington are out there. They're solid commitments, but now they're like, yeah, we might take some visits, including Alabama. So there are so many moving pieces in recruiting. And what bothers me is, I had a chance, it was nice. Mario took some time before the camp started to talk to me for like 10 minutes. We just chatted about the old days and, caught up on stuff because I hadn't seen him one-on-one. It was always media this, media that. Anyway, such a great energy about him. And if it was just no NIL deals, I mean, which are great for student athletes, but I'm saying if there were no NIL deals, if it was just Mario and the staff just being able to recruit and show kids like Andy Jean how they can be developed in 2 hours of coaching them, what it can be like for them to be here constantly, I think it would be a home run. They'd be winning recruits right and left. But it's not like that anymore. This is a new era in recruiting. I don't think fans understand how NIL is going to, maybe tear this whole class apart after Mario's built it up. It's possible. It can happen. And it's disheartening, because you can see what it should be based on how recruiting used to be. But they need guys like John Ruiz. I know the stock's not doing well, but they need guys like John Ruiz just to be able to step up because, I don't know, someone was telling me Texas A&M was paying $20 million in NIL deals. I don't know if that's true or not. You hear about Tennessee giving money to guys like, It needs to continue exponentially. And if it doesn't, it's just hard. It's just going to be hard to see kids that might leave Miami that others would come here just because of money. Like, it's ridiculous, but it could happen. And it's going to be very disheartening if that does happen. Not that it will, but I can see the potential. I can see that's where this is heading for some of these recruits.
All right, a couple things. You mentioned John Ruiz. You mentioned NIL. All of these are factors, obviously. So let's transition. We'll talk about a couple things and we'll get back to recruiting. All right. So the first thing is NIL in the current landscape. There's no question it's a factor. There's no question that schools are realizing that they're going to have to lay out a lot of money. And I've said on this show that it's the schools that are willing to do that right now that are going to be best positioned when the rules inevitably change and the NCAA finds its wheelhouse to jurisdict over NIL more so than they already are in the current set of rules. And it's not that the rules aren't in place. It's the interpretation of these rules that needs to be refined, that needs to be defined. And I think that you're going to see over the next year, 2 years, the NCAA put a lot of effort into doing that, because the one thing that they really want to stop is NIL impacting recruiting. Okay, all that said, it brings us to John Ruiz. And there's been a lot of conversation in the last 24 hours about the NCAA's meeting with John Ruiz. And, people have asked, Gary and Matt, why has CaneSport not come down much harder on this situation than we have? And, those are people that are anti-John Ruiz asking those questions. And, they think that just because John Ruiz is a sponsor of the show, that impacts our coverage. And I can unequivocally tell you there's nothing of the sort that's true. Okay, here is the bottom line. We can only report the facts that we have available to us that we believe to be the truth. In this case, okay, the NCAA, Miami has been out front on NIL. I think everybody would agree on that. The NCAA is under a lot of pressure in the last month or so to get its hands around NIL. So what's one of the first places they're going to go to start trying to figure out what's going on? They're coming to Miami. And that is what they did. They met with Miami athletic officials, Dan Radakovich and others, to try to see how is Miami handling NIL. And what they found out is that Miami is handling NIL the way Miami's supposed to handle NIL. They've got a relationship with everybody. All the contracts are being routed through Miami compliance. Everything's being done exactly the way it's supposed to be done, by the book. Miami, as an athletic department, has absolutely nothing to hide in this regard. They are doing what they are supposed to do. So they meet with the NCAA. They show the NCAA all of this. They call John Ruiz. Will you meet with the NCAA and talk to them about your NIL program, what you're doing, your 110 contracts, why you're doing it, what value you're getting from it? John Ruiz says, of course I will. I would love to meet with them. John Ruiz has been saying for a month that he would love to meet with the NCAA. So why there are some national media outlets that latch on to all of this, and maybe one day I end up with egg on my face for saying this because we don't know where all this is going. But why a national media outlet would latch on to that and insinuate that Miami is under investigation is beyond me, because you're talking about two totally different things. This was a fact-finding trip for the NCAA. They met with John Ruiz for an hour and a half. All accounts that we got from it, hopefully accurate, were that it was a very cordial meeting, that there were no accusations made. There really was very little focus on the amount of money that players are being paid, because there is a clear understanding that by the letter of the law and legally, a player is worth what somebody is willing to pay him, period. And if Nico Amaboleva at Tennessee can get Tennessee collectives to pay him $8 million, then he's worth $8 million. If Nigel Pack can get John Ruiz and Life Wallet to pay him $400,000, then he's worth $400,000. And so the NCAA, is not, from what I understand, is not even going there because it's a waste of their time. What they do want to understand is why players are being hired, and what the company is looking to get out of it. And my understanding is that's what was the focal point of the meeting between the NCAA and John Ruiz this past week. So they come down, they meet with the University of Miami, and the NCAA and Miami, the concern is, are they compliant? Are they doing what they're supposed to do from a compliance standpoint in dealing with NIL? So all the contracts go through the compliance department. Every single Miami athlete that has done a deal with Life Wallet or anybody else has had their contracts reviewed by compliance. From what we can tell, the University of Miami is doing everything that it's supposed to do in terms of NIL. Apparently, there was a lot of give and take. John Ruiz provided them with a lot of information. He had suggestions on the direction that he thinks that NIL should go. The NCAA took all that and went home. So I think the problem is there are national media outlets that when they hear NCAA in Miami, they immediately start to assume there's a scandal, there's allegations and all those things. And that's where this thing took on some legs of its own, Matt. But as it pertains to what we're talking about here, which is the 2022 recruiting effort, it's very important that the NIL presence be allowed to continue the way it's been because in my mind, it's the schools that have that NIL presence that are competitive in that arena here in this recruiting cycle are going to be the programs best positioned when all the trash is taken out and everything is sorted out.
Look, John Ruiz probably did nothing wrong. I don't know. I assume he did nothing wrong. UM is being transparent, which is great. But the problem with all this is it's at the end of the day, Miami has to start recruiting better, right? That's the key. The roster the way it is now, it's no secret, it's not good enough. It has to change. And the way it changes, you can only do so much through the portal. It changes through recruiting. The perception when you see an SI headline that says Miami being investigated for NIL is now every other school that any recruit visits, they can hold up a screenshot of Sports Illustrated's website saying Miami under investigation for NIL to every top recruit. It's a big freaking problem, man. Like, you didn't mention that. That's the problem. The problem isn't Miami's innocent. The same thing happened to Jim Larinaga, and it took him 3 years to fix his roster. Mario Cristobal cannot afford a 3-year problem because otherwise there's this cloud hanging over Miami where every other school in the country, there's no NIL problem, but every other school, Alabama, LSU, Ohio State, that these top recruits are visiting that may want to go to Miami, they could say, look, this is the only school the NCAA is investigating for NIL. You may not want to deal with this. I don't know what's going to happen. You're going to get there. There's no money for you. Here, you've got a guaranteed whatever. Like, this stuff goes on. Like, it's a problem. It's not right. When Miami did nothing wrong, it's not right. Miami should be extremely upset with the NCAA about this. They should be putting out their own press releases instead of saying we can't discuss it and make it look like there's some investigation. Freaking give it to the NCAA a little bit, man. Like, you got to fight back against this. This can't be. You can't let what happened to the basketball program happen to the football program when they're finally getting this momentum going. I mean, the NCAA it's ridiculous. If they really leak this, they just got it out from Miami. They'll do anything they can to screw Miami. That's I guess that's my DNR. I'm a little agitated about it because it's ridiculous. Talking to Mario, like I said yesterday, like, he has so much energy and passion. The guy doesn't sleep. I'm like, man, I'd burn out if I was doing what you do. I can't sleep 2 hours a night or whatever. He's like, you don't burn out, man. You just get more energy. You keep going. Listen, I would never compare somebody to a cult leader because like people take that the wrong way. But like if Mario Cristobal wanted to start a cult and call it the Miami Hurricanes football team, like I'd join that cult. And I'm pretty sure it is a cult when he's starting at Miami. Like I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, right. But like he's the cult of personality. He's fantastic. People will follow him to the edge of the earth. He has got the personality. He believes what he's saying. He's doing things the right way. And for this stupidity of having John Ruiz just having the personality be so public and have the NCAA get involved now is like so ridiculous when nothing wrong has even been discussed or seen or anything.
Well, John Ruiz would say he's doing the right things. He's running his program the right way. He's trying to educate the NCAA on how he's doing it and how they can make it better all over the country. All right, Matt, so let's take all this full circle back and apply it to the news of the day. And that is that Miami recruiting is starting to go very well. They had a camp at the U yesterday. Several prospects were there. And I started out talking about Andy Jean. And so let's focus on him here for a minute. He was committed to Miami. He decommitted from Miami. It's been a struggle for the last few months, but he spends 2 hours with Josh Gaddis at the camp yesterday and emerges from that experience all of a sudden feeling bullish about Miami again. Your thoughts?
I think he'll be a Miami Hurricane. I mean, I posted on the board yesterday 4 players I think will be Hurricanes. He's one of them. He was saying everything was even for a while, but now after this, Miami's got a big lead, and I don't see it changing.
All right, so things are going very well there, and other stories are on the website today. A lot of other kids were out there. Let's talk for a minute about Dillard running back Christopher Johnson, another one that was out there at the U yesterday, and his experience on campus furthered Miami chances with him as well.
Yeah, he's one of the 4 also that I think will be a Hurricane. Like we talked about on yesterday's show, this visit wasn't about anything except these coaches showing these recruits what they can do for them in furthering them as athletes, as potential NFL players. Mission succeeded, man. I mean, both these guys were super sold on it, and I think they both wound up Hurricanes.
All right, another one that was out there that Miami made great progress with was defensive back Sharif Denson. He spent a lot of time with Coach Adai and was another one that walked away from that experience feeling very positive about Miami.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's more of a long shot, but he did make the trip down mainly because, Mario Cristobal's been calling his dad constantly. You know how Mario is. So they got him down here. Texas A&M, Florida, Ohio State are the other ones in it. He'll take an official visit. A lot is still to be determined. Those other 3 schools, he's been to them numerous times. This is his first time at Miami. So really hard to say right now which way this might go. If signing day was today, he would not be a Hurricane. But as things go forward, you never know. This is what Miami does, right? The new staff, they just stay on guys. They might only win 10% of the battles, but when you're recruiting 200 kids, that's 20 kids. That's all you need in a class. So what that old saying, like, so what you're saying is there's a chance, right? There's a chance with him.
All right, next up, I'll talk about JUCO wide receiver Colby Young. There's been a lot of debate over the last several days. How interested is Miami? The one thing that I think you and I will agree on is Miami is very interested. Colby Young is supposed to visit this next weekend. We think that there's a great chance he ends up a Miami Hurricane.
Oh, no, I don't think there's any doubt he's going to be a Miami Hurricane. I mean, it's either Miami, Jacksonville State, or Arkansas State. And I happen to know Miami wants him. So he's going to commit probably on Sunday. He wants to enroll at Miami. He already knows the summer B enrollment date at Miami. Like, that's how invested he is in probably becoming a Hurricane.
All right, that's going to do it for today for Good Morning CaneSport. Thank you once again for starting your day with us. For Matt Shodell, I'm Gary Ferman. We'll catch up with you next time, everybody. Have a great day.